good evening. I'm coming to you live from Hiroshima in Japan. It's 10:30 p.m. Hiroshima time, 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived here an hour back. He received a warm welcome from the Indian diaspora, all of them pretty euphoric after getting a selfie with the Prime Minister. It'll be a very hectic day of bilateral and important diplomatic meetings.
All right, a big decision taken by the RBI. PTI, the Press Trust of India, has now put this out that the RBI will now withdraw the 2,000 rupee note. Remember, this was introduced after demonetization in the year 2016. The RBI will now stop printing 2,000 rupee notes, but these notes will continue to be legal tender. If you want to exchange these notes, you can go to your bank branch and exchange this for other legal tender 500 rupee notes, etc. So the RBI has decided to stop further printing of 2,000 rupee notes. 2,000 rupee notes will be pulled out of circulation. Pallavi Ghosh has more details on this. Pallavi, what more information do you have?
So essentially what the Finance Ministry press release is pointing out, the reason why this note was first introduced was after the withdrawal of the 500 and 1,000 rupee notes, as we know about what's called the demonetization. But according to the Finance Ministry, the 2,000 rupee notes are actually not used very commonly and not too much in circulation, and therefore it's no longer, to use the word of the Finance Ministry, considered to be a clean note, and that's the reason it's now being withdrawn. No further printing of it. However, those who have 2,000 rupee notes can deposit it according to a KYC into their bank account. All this has to be done by 30th of September of this year, and also you can continue to use 2,000 rupees as a part of your transaction, but that will only be valid till the 30th of September.
So once again, if you have 2,000 rupee notes in your home or in your wallet, you can go to your bank and exchange it for other denominations?
Yes, that's what you can do. So what they are saying is that either you deposit the 2,000 rupee notes that you have with you into your bank according to a KYC, or you can exchange it in exchange of those 500 or 100 rupee notes. But it is only valid till 30th of September. The Finance Ministry, again to reiterate, and the point that they are making is it was introduced only after the withdrawal of the 500 and 1,000 rupee notes. It's no longer considered to be a clean note. It's also something which, according to the Finance Ministry, has not been used extensively, and therefore the Finance Ministry, kind of feels that it's not going to cause any kind of panic or any kind of damage. You can continue to use it for your transactions, and also, of course, deposit whatever 2,000 rupee notes you have.
And basically, after the 30th of September, you cannot use 2,000 rupee notes.
Absolutely. 30th of September is the deadline for the use of the 2,000 rupee notes. After that, it's just going to be a piece of paper. Until the 30th of September, you can go to your bank and deposit if you have a currency of 2,000 rupees.
Is there any mention in the RBI circular about how much 2,000 rupee notes, the value, is in circulation currently?
No, not many details are now available. I think there are more press releases. We are expecting one more. But the point that is being made by the Finance Ministry in its circulation is very clear. We do not think that there's too much of 2,000 rupee notes in circulation. It's not a kind of currency denomination which is used very extensively. So they think that it's not going to cause so much of damage. Now, if you just step back in 2018, when the demonetization had come into place, there was a sense of panic. And that is because it was 500 rupee notes. All of those were also being withdrawn. The government has, after its calculation, come to a conclusion. And this is something which we were getting inputs from the Finance Ministry over the last couple of months, is that 2,000 rupee notes does not find much of resonance, not used very commonly, and also the fact is that it is not considered to be clean note, to use the Finance Ministry parlance.
And just if you could track the journey of this 2,000 rupee note, like you said, it came into existence after demonetization in November of 2016. It's been a short-lived journey, but quite an eventful one.
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, interestingly, the Finance Ministry note actually extensively mentions the journey of the 2,000 rupee note. Why was it introduced? It was introduced after a withdrawal of the 500 rupee notes and the 1,000, and therefore the 2,000 rupee notes were used. And the government has been calculating, and frankly speaking, this is something which the Finance Ministry has often been given us by way of inputs, that it doesn't find much of use in terms of circulation. People go in for smaller denomination. The 2000 rupee denomination was something which has not been used extensively either by the businessmen or by the traders or even by the common man. And therefore, it doesn't perceive any kind of a panic reaction, doesn't perceive any kind of, a panic, so to say. But however, they've given us time till 30th of September, which is just a couple of months away. You can carry on your transactions. And of course, you have the option of going and depositing it into your account.
How is the opposition expected to react to this? The opposition, of course, have been very vocal critics of demonetization. The 2000 rupee note, in a way, has come to symbolize demonetization.
Well, yes, absolutely. And I'm sure the opposition parties are going to once again accuse the government of not learning its lesson. And remember, till today, the demonetization, GST are often used by the opposition parties to make the point that this is something which was a panic and immediate reaction coming from the government. The government did not take cognizance of the small traders. People who have the small savings, for example, housewives collecting money and instead of saving it as a kind of pocket money or saving it because they want to save money. This is something which the opposition has always criticized the government on, of being callous, insensitive. But if you look at the detailed note which has been put forward, the circular which has been put forward, it completely squashes all this. It's saying that a 2000 rupee note will continue to be a legal note, but it is not considered to be legal. It's not considered to be clean note. As a part of the clean note policy of the government, there are these periodic reviews, and they feel that 2000 rupee note is actually not much used in transactions.
All right, Pallavi, we'll leave it at that. Let me also get in Gaurav Chaudhary from Money Control. Gaurav, what is the RBI's sort of explanation or justification, if you will, for this decision to withdraw the 2000 rupee note? And what does this entail? Like Pallavi was saying, you have time till the 30th of September to either exchange these notes or deposit these notes in your account.
Zaka, it's not technically demonetization in the manner that we had seen in 2016 when rupee notes were demonetized and those were declared as not as legal tender. In this case, even if you have a 2000 rupee note and you present it for any kind of transaction, it remains legal tender. So it is something that you can continue to use. So in that sense, it's not demonetized. But what it means, however, is that this is a signal for people to discourage holding any kind of 2000 rupee notes, because at some point in time, if the notes get out of circulation, which the RBI is going to do, means that any transaction that takes place in 2000 rupee note and those notes find their way into the banking system some point after September 30th, then that will raise a red flag on how the transactions took place. Because if the notes are being withdrawn from circulation, it means that no 2000 rupee notes are going to be printed any longer. And two, after September 30th, the RBI would want, or the government or the banking system wants, that no transaction, even if it is cash transaction, should not take place in the 2000 rupee notes. If it does, then that could cause some red flags.
Can you just walk us through, the journey of the 2000 rupee note? In a way, the 2000 rupee note had come to symbolize demonetization. It was introduced after the 8th of November 2016. It's been,
Right.
4 plus another 7 years now, or just a little under 7 years. What is the journey of the 2000 rupee note encapsulated in these last 7 years?
So yeah, it's been a journey. Its life is actually of 7 years now. So it came into existence after November 8, 2016, when the Prime Minister made that announcement at 8 p.m. in the evening, stunning the country that that 1000 rupee notes were being demonetized, and all 500 rupee notes is going to be replaced by new 500 rupee notes. In place came the 2000 rupee notes, which was kind of a bit of a surprise, because if the government was actually withdrawing higher denomination notes on grounds that, this could lead to hoarding and a lot of cash transactions were taking place outside the regulatory boundary and was escaping the banking system, 2000 rupee notes actually made it easier for people to hoard and carry out high-value transactions. And if you recall those days, it took a long time for the ATMs to be calibrated for a new 2000 rupee notes because of the dimension of the size of these notes. Now, the government actually wanted to, one of the reasons that was cited by the government is also to find out what are the kind of transactions, large high-value transactions that were taking place in 2000 rupee through high denomination notes. And 2000 obviously was the highest denomination note and continues to remain the highest denomination note until September 30th, of course, this year. Having collected that data obviously the RBI hasn't put out, and at some point in time that data might be made public. What are the number of 2,000 rupee notes that were printed over the last 7 years, and how many transactions have taken place involving 2,000 rupee notes through deposits in banks? I think that data is going to be absolutely critical, because this can turn out to be, this 7-year journey of a 2,000 rupee note can turn out to be a vehicle for the government to have collected a huge amount of data on how much of money, cash would have been brought into the system, or how much of transactions have taken place in higher denomination notes, and how much of those notes are found into the banking system. And probably,
is there any information from the RBI circular today or earlier as to what is the value of these 2,000 rupee notes that are out in circulation? How much value of 2,000 rupee notes has the RBI printed in the first place?
Yeah, so those numbers will be put out in the RBI annual report when it comes out in the next month or so. The number of notes in circulation keeps on changing every year, because every year there is a concept called M3, which is the broad money supply, and it also contains the number of notes, extra notes that the government keeps, that the RBI keeps on printing. 2,000 rupee notes, the printing of the 2,000 rupee notes, the rate of growth of printing of 2,000 rupee notes have actually considerably come down over the last 2-3 years. And in a personalized individual, we may have also noticed that if you have withdrawn money from ATMs, the ATMs were not throwing out 2,000 rupee notes in the same pace as those were doing between 2016 and 2019. In fact, 2,000 rupee notes have been progressively brought down in ATMs over the last 3-4 years. And this is the final nail in the life of 2,000 rupee notes. I think the whole purpose, as of now, appears that the government used these notes to collect a lot of data on high-value transactions that have taken place through cash.
Also, is there any sort of thinking in government as to reintroducing the 1,000 rupee note or any high-value denomination? And the corollary to that would also be, are there enough 500 rupee notes that are in circulation that have been printed? Because you would expect a large amount of these 2,000 rupee notes now to be given back to banks, and banks will have to compensate with lower denomination currency.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think 2,000. It will be difficult to guess whether the government actually intends to bring back the 1,000 rupee note. I don't think so, because at this point in time, it appears that the 500 rupee note is going to remain the highest value denomination note in the Indian currency system. So far as printing more 500 rupee notes to replace the 2,000 rupee notes, well, that data needs to be examined, because 2,000 rupee notes, as I said before, has been progressively brought down. The circulation of 2,000 rupee notes have been progressively brought down over the last 2-3 years. And this announcement, given the cash in circulation, this announcement is unlikely to have an impact on current transaction, because also keep in mind that a large number of transactions are now also taking place through the UPI system. So this could also be an encouragement that if you have any 2,000 rupee notes, go and deposit in the banking system, because after this, any transaction in 2,000 rupee notes, regardless of the fact that they remain legal tender, will come under scrutiny.
And the second question about are there adequate 500 rupee notes out there in circulation, been printed by the RBI? Will they be printing more in the next 4 or 5 months till the 30th of September? In anticipation for the 2,000 rupee notes that are going to be flooded back into the banking system?
So, absolutely. So, I would not think so that the RBI or the government will go. The RBI in this case will go on, printing more number of 500 rupee notes to replace the 2,000 rupee notes that will be deposited in the banking system, because 2,000 rupee notes, if those 2,000 rupee notes that are in circulation are currently within organizations or with individuals, they are not in general circulation, because they have been progressively withdrawn from circulation without making any form of announcement. So anyone who has those or have been holding those 2,000 rupee notes either will have to go and deposit it in the bank, and anyone going and depositing those 2,000 rupee notes is not going to withdraw a similar value of 5,000 rupee notes, because then that is going to cause, that is going to trigger some kind of a scrutiny for that individual. So those 2,000 rupee notes that are not returned to the bank continues to remain hoarded by individuals, will remain there within the private circulation system and may be used for private transactions. But I would assume that not many 2,000 rupee notes are going to be returned to the banking system in fear of triggering some kind of a scrutiny.
Okay, Gaurav, just give me a moment. I'm also joined by my colleague Pallavi Ghosh, who broke the story for us. Pallavi, obviously the opposition parties would jump onto this saying, you know, we told you so, the 2,000 rupee note was a bad idea in the first place. Now, within 7 years, you're withdrawing circulation of the 2,000 rupee note. How do you expect this story to play itself out politically?
Well, demonetization, when it happened also, Zaka, you remember, this became a big political issue. And even till today, even I remember during the Karnataka elections, also early in other state elections, especially where the trading community is substantial. I remember Rahul Gandhi would make this issue. Congress party makes it an issue. Even Mamata Banerjee, of course, makes it an issue because who, according to them, it hurts the most is the smalling trading community who have a habit of stashing up cash, who need that small petty cash. So many would argue the 2,000 is not very petty cash, but that's a different story. People also who have these small savings at home, they are the ones who are going to be hit by it. There are lots of people who talk about the fact that how they have yet to recover from demonetization. And these are always given examples by the opposition parties. Again, I would say TMC, Congress. These are the kind of parties who have always made it a political issue and continue to do so today. And I think, in the backdrop of the 20% tax, we are talking about credit cards and international transactions. This latest, kind of a notification coming in from the RBI Finance Ministry is once again going to be used by the opposition to make the point that this is just witch hunting by the government and how the government is very callous and insensitive to concerns of those with small savings.
Can I go back to Gaurav also? You know, one of the things you said was over the course of the last 7 years, one of the things that the RBI feared was that people were using this high value denomination, this currency of 2,000 rupee note, for hoarding money. Again, does the RBI have any kind of ballpark estimate for how much these 2,000 rupee notes were being held in unaccounted cash?
So that is something, Zaka, that piece of data will come up post September 30. So RBI has clear data of how many notes, 2,000 rupee notes, it has printed over the last 7 years. And RBI has, post September 30, RBI will also have exact data, the specific data on how many notes have actually come back to the banking system, these 2,000 rupee notes. Those, once you tally those, the number of notes that were being printed over the last 7 years and those that are not in the banking system now, after post September 30, would give you the number of notes that are actually currently being hoarded by individuals. Since these will continue to remain legal tender, you probably expect these are going to be used in transactions for various kind of activities, probably even real estate, which is where the deals operate outside regulatory boundaries in a very opaque system, or even say products like gold, etc., commodities like gold, etc. But how many notes were printed and how many are returned to the banking system after 30th of September is going to yield a very interesting piece of data, because that's going to be the marker of how many notes are being hoarded by individuals and organizations.
It's interesting, Pallavi. I think Gaurav has a great point. You know, even when demonetization happened, the expectation of the money or the currency that would come back into the formal banking system versus the reality of how much actually came, there was a substantial shortfall. Similarly, in the case of the 2,000 rupee note, as Gaurav was saying, because it's a high value denomination, the fear is that people are using this to hoard cash, unaccounted cash, and therefore there will again be a gap between the amount of currency, 2,000 rupee notes that the RBI had actually printed, and the amount that would actually return back to the formal banking channels.
But, if you look at the wording of the note which has come out from the RBI, it very clearly says that there is not going to be any effect or impact of it on the currency available with the government or the banknotes in circulation. So it's not going to make much of a difference if you go by the notification coming in from the RBI just issued a short while back. That's one. Adding on to the point of people are holding and storing money, we ourselves have done many of these stories, Jaka, and they have often been reports of how this 2,000 rupees high denomination was also being used for not very national activities. It was also being feared that this was the money which was being used to fund terror activities and how it was going across the border. This is also a concern which I remember, Nirmala Sitharaman, we would often ask in her briefings at the Finance Ministry office, and she would say, yes, these are concerns which we have been observing. There have been reports and inputs we have been getting from the Home Ministry. This is just by the side. This is just adding on to the point which has been made by Gaurav about how the 2,000 rupee denomination was used to store money. The concern with the government and Home Ministry was also that it was easy to use this high denomination currency to actually carry on those terror activities or anti-national activities against the country, and therefore it was something which was being monitored.
Gaurav, one of the points that's been mentioned in this RBI note is that even if you were to go to your bank and deposit this or exchange this at your bank for other lower denomination currency, you can only do up to 20,000 rupees at a time. So at best, you can exchange or deposit 10 2,000 rupee notes at a single time. What's the idea behind that?
So the whole idea behind that is actually, this is going to be very interesting, because anyone who has more than 10 2,000 rupee notes is now going to stagger the visits to the bank by by multiples of 10 notes each, because the moment you start depositing, say, 22,000 rupees, that is 11 notes, then it becomes a red flag within the banking system, and scrutinies could be launched against you, because anyone who is depositing more than 10 rupees at a time at one go in the bank actually crosses a threshold in which he or she could actually be brought under scrutiny. So this is the threshold. It means that you will be considered to be seen to be a hoarder of 2,000 rupee notes if you cross the limit of 20,000. That is going to be very, very interesting, because then if anyone is hoarding money, one would assume that anyone is hoarding 2,000 rupee notes, one would assume that anyone would be hoarding at least 100 notes, which is a bundle of 2,000 rupee notes, which is 2 lakh rupees. Now, if you can only go and deposit 10% of that bundle of 100 rupee notes, it means you will be considered to be a suspected hoarder. All of that activity probably will come only after September 30. Please remember, we are heading into a 2024 election in about 11 months from now. After the data is collated after September 30, you never know where the scrutiny are going to land.
Now, one interesting data point that's been shared by our research team, and this is, of course, from the RBI's annual report. As of 31st of March 2023, by value, the value of 2,000 rupee notes that were in circulation were 13% of the total value of currency that was out in the market, 13.8%. In the year 2017, this is right after demonetization and right after these notes were introduced, 50% of the value of currency in circulation was that of 2,000 rupee notes. Now it's come down to almost 1/10, from half to 1/10. So to that extent, I think one thing is clear, Gaurav, that it will not disrupt the market or trade or business in any big way, because only 1 out of 10 notes by value are being used in the market right now.
No, this is unlike the demonetization. This is not a shock. So it is not going to be a shock, because it is not, the government is not withdrawing the notes and saying that these notes are going to be illegal from tomorrow or day after tomorrow, or even after September 30th. Even after September, this will continue to remain legal tender. But coming back to the point that we have discussed a few minutes ago, is that progressively the circulation of 2,000 rupee notes have come down over the last 3-4 years. And this data that the research team has put out actually underlines that point. In 2017, 50% of all notes in circulation were of 2,000 denomination. As of March 31, 2023, 13% of all notes in circulation are of 2,000. So clearly, the number of notes of 2,000 rupee notes have significantly come down ever since these were introduced. It had a very short life of 7 years. The reason it had a short life is something that the RBI in its annual report is likely to underline when it's going to come out in the next month or so, probably in July.
All right, Pallavi, I think we're getting more data from our research team, and this is fantastic data points that are coming out. So when it was introduced in 2017, right after demonetization in November of 2016, the value of 2,000 rupee notes that was in circulation was 6.73 lakh crores. That was, at that time, 37.5% of all the notes in circulation. Over the last 7 years, it has come down from 6.73 lakh crores to 3.62 lakh crores. It's almost halved, in fact, more than halved in the last 7 years. And currently, it constitutes only about 13% of all the notes that are in circulation as of March 31st, 2023. But 3.62 lakh crore is not a small amount, Pallavi.
I'm going to go back to what the RBI in its notification says, and just to use their words, that a majority of the 2,000 rupee denomination notes were the ones which were issued before March 2017, and the lifespan indicates is for 4 to 5 years, and therefore the 2,000 rupee denomination indicates exhausted its lifespan. And also the second point, the denomination is not commonly used for transactions. And also third important point which it makes is that the stock of banknotes in the denomination continues to be adequate to meet the requirement of the public. It corroborates what our research team is also putting out, and something which Gaurav is also talking about, that there won't be much damage to the common man or to the currency in circulation if you're going to start withdrawing the 2,000 rupee notes. And therefore, the government doesn't worry too much about it. They don't think it's going to be a repeat of what happened in what is now called a demonetization disaster. First of all, the government is not calling it demonetization. That's certainly not the word which is being used over here in the Finance Ministry notification. They are just carefully calling it a withdrawal of 2,000 rupee notes because it has exhausted its lifespan. So that's one key point. But the rider over here is when you put a limit that you can only deposit 20,000 rupees at a time, there could be a bit of a panic. And I suspect that there will be people who start making a beeline to their respective bank accounts, and they're going to start depositing the money into the account. Is there going to be a limit to how many times you can keep on depositing the money? Well, the timeline has been given quite a long one, actually. 30th September still means a couple of months away. In the meanwhile, the government also wants to send out this message, and that is what we are being told by Finance Ministry, that everyone should accept the 2,000 note. No bank can refuse to accept 2,000 rupee notes if you want to deposit it there. If you are going, as a consumer, you want to spend that money, no shopkeeper or trader can refuse to take the 2,000 rupee notes. But the problem also over here, Zaka, is that the trader ultimately will have to deposit that money into his account. Will he be able to do it beyond the 20,000 rupees at a time? So there could be a possibility that your 2,000 rupee notes may not be accepted if you're going out to the market and want to use it to purchase something.
Yeah, that's a very real possibility, that if you were to go to shops or use the 2,000 rupee note for exchange in commercial establishments, not banks, people might actually refuse to take it because they know it has a shelf life of the next 3 months or so. But Gaurav, I want to come back to one of the questions, and I'm curious to know this, is whether there are enough 500 rupee notes in circulation to compensate for the withdrawal of the 2,000 rupee notes. Because right now, again, our research team is pointing out data that the value of 500 rupee notes that are in circulation as of March 31st, 2023 is 73.8%. Almost 3 out of 4 by value is 500 rupee notes. And if another 10% of the 2,000 rupee notes gets removed from the market, then they will have to up the 500 rupee notes to about 85% by value of all the currency that's in circulation. That is a staggering amount.
Yeah, it is. But before I respond to that, on the point that Pallavi made, that whether traders are going to accept this, I think if you recall, during the days of demonetization, in the first 50 days, there were repeated amendments to the rules, and there were notifications being put out almost daily on changes of the status of how 500 rupee, existing 500 rupee and 1,000 rupee notes could be used for transactions. And if you recall, we saw petrol pumps, petrol stations, and hospitals being allowed to accept 1,000 rupee notes and 500 rupee notes much beyond the date of November 8 or November 10, 2016. I think don't rule out the possibility of a few amendments in the notification where the government could clarify that these kind of outlets or these kind of economic or this kind of activities where a lot of things are transacted in cash, petrol stations and hospitals and also retail outlets, if they deposit more than 20,000 rupees in banks of 2,000 rupee denomination at one go, then no questions will be asked of them because their transactions take place, a lot of their transactions take place in cash, and they will be probably amended from that rule. That is one. On whether there are enough number of 500 rupee notes, 73%, as our research team has said, 73% of all notes in circulation are currently 500 rupee notes. The 2,000 rupee notes were not, may have been 13% of all notes are 2,000 rupee notes in circulation, but that is the total stock of 2,000 rupee notes. The key question to ask here is how many of these 2,000 rupee notes were in active circulation where that was taking place in active transactions. I would reckon that very few of this, not a small percentage of this 13% that are in circulation would have been in active circulation for active transaction. Most of this, a majority of this 13% of 2,000 rupee notes may have been hoarded.
All right, the politics can't be too far away. Now the Congress Party has put out a tweet, and we'll break that here on CNN News 18. The Congress Party has put out a tweet saying that this is the second demonetization disaster. This is what the Congress Party is calling this, the withdrawal of the 2,000 rupee notes. The Congress Party is calling this a second demonetization disaster. Although technically this is not an overnight demonetization like we saw in 2016, as Gaurav was pointing out. You have another 3 months to exchange these notes or to deposit them in your bank account. Manikam Tagore has just tweeted saying, just checked in my wallet, I don't have 2,000 rupees. This is the second demonetization disaster by the Modi government. So clearly the politics of it is now going to be stepped up. Let me get a quick word in from Pallavi on this, and I'll also go across to Mr. Ajay Bagga, who's a market expert, in just a moment to get what the market's view could likely be on this. But Pallavi, as expected, the Congress calling this a second demonetization disaster.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And, I think this was an expected response, and this is exactly what we were talking about. The first demonetization, as it was called, is something which is being picked up by the Congress Party even now. I remember one of the strongest reactions had come in from Mamata Banerjee because, I belong to Bengal and I know the traders have a habit of hoarding up petty cash. They have a habit of storing up money. And that is what she realized had hit the economy very badly. And she had actually complained about the fact that this was only actually ending up targeting the smaller traders, the poor people who have a habit of stashing up cash. The rich people get away. I remember those were the words which were used by Mamata Banerjee. I'm sure the TMC is also going to come out with its official response. But the Congress's response is not very surprising.
All right, Amit Malviya of the BJP is now joining us on the phone line. Mr. Malviya, the Congress's first reaction to the withdrawal of the 2,000 rupee note is they're calling this a second demonetization disaster. How would you respond?
Well, this is a very predictable response, and I'm sure they have not even read the circular and the FAQs that the RBI has put out. This is not the first time a certain currency has been withdrawn. We've seen that happen on several occasions. The RBI on different occasions has withdrawn series, they have withdrawn currency denominations, and even in this particular instance, they have very clearly said that it continues to be a legal tender. People can transact, people can go to the banks and exchange if they are holding up currency notes. So in that sense, it does not in any way inconvenience or is a departure from what we've seen in the past.
The 2,000 rupee note itself was introduced after demonetization in 2016. It's had a short-lived journey over the last 7 years. The opposition is saying that this is a symbol of everything that went wrong with demonetization.
Well, the opposition insists on being status quoist, but the fact is that dynamic economies take decisions as it requires. And today, the RBI feels that a certain currency denomination need not be printed going forward. That's what they have said. They have taken that decision based on the currency in circulation, the denomination in circulation, the use of it, and what they foresee the cash in circulation in the economy to be like. So it's not a very simplistic decision that the central bank arrives at. They look at a lot of data, they look at a lot of usage patterns, and let's not forget that post-demonetization, over 5 lakh crore rupees came into formal economy. The digitalization that we've seen is humongous. Today, the transactions happening on UPI are in billions. So it has been a huge success. It has formalized the economy in a very, very big way. And it has been to the advantage of the small and marginalized entrepreneurs and traders and people who deal with small businesses. Unless the opposition sort of reads through the fine print, understands what the RBI's circular is all about, their response is nothing more than a political, rhetorical, knee-jerk reaction to something that requires a great deal of understanding on how these decisions are made.
All right, Mr. Malviya, thanks very much for joining us with your first reactions to this decision by the RBI Charan Singh Sapra of the Congress is also joining us, and so is Mr. Majid Memon of the NCP, of the TMC. Charan Singh Sapra, Amit Malviya just saying a moment ago that this is a thought-out, considered decision by the RBI. In any case, the RBI had stopped printing these notes from 2018-19. Now they are withdrawing it from circulation, and it's not like demonetization because it's not a sudden removal of these notes. You have time till the 30th of September to either exchange these notes or to deposit them in your bank account.
No doubt the government has given some time, but I still feel that this is one more example of an authoritarian rule. It was never discussed with the stakeholders, also not discussed in the parliament. I feel this is a best example of authoritarian rule which Modi government has been doing.
But even in 1978, when there was the first demonetization, it was RBI that went ahead with it. There was no parliament or taking the opposition on board and so on.
No, but RBI also, they might have discussed without discussing with the finance minister or without discussing with the prime minister. I don't think so they have taken this decision, or the RBI chief should come out and say that he has not discussed with anybody and this is a unilateral decision of RBI. They should come out and tell this.
Let me also go across to Mr. Majid Memon. Mr. Memon, again, the point the BJP is making is, A, it's the RBI, the central bank, that's taken this decision. It's a considered decision. The RBI governor has from time to time pointed to the fact that how, because it's a high-value denomination, people are hoarding it. It's being used perhaps for hoarding cash, etc. So the purpose of the 2,000 rupee note at the time that it was introduced during demonetization was to ensure that there is a bit of ease for consumers because 500 and 1,000 had been removed. That purpose has now been served. Therefore, they are withdrawing it.
Yes, hello.
Yes, Mr. Memon, yeah, go ahead.
Now, first, I would correct you. I am with TNC, not NCP. Please correct me.
Sure, yes. I corrected myself. Yes.
Now, see, this move by the RBI has once again opened the whole Pandora of the wisdom in the announcement of demonetization by this Modi rule. You know, what had caused, what gain we have got, what losses we have suffered, I think everything will have to be now refreshed in mind. And so why now today RBI says that 2,000 notes are to be withdrawn for certain reasons which they felt. Why was it introduced at the first instance? What was the mind of RBI or the present government to bring in this 2,000 rupees note to facilitate people to make hoarding easy? Was it the purpose? And what is the gain of demonetization? Where people have died, where poor people have suffered in queue while exchanging, there were people who lost their lives while changing the money and when this policy was brought in by the Modi government. So therefore, now this is the time once again to renew and recall what were the, turmoils that people have suffered when the demonetization was done. And today, if you are asking to withdraw this 2,000 note, let the people of this country, as a citizen of this country, I am entitled to know from the Reserve Bank or from the government, from the Prime Minister's office, that please tell us what was the reason for you to introduce it at the first instance, and what was the gain to the people of this country or to the state exchequer? Absolutely nothing. Okay. It was an exercise in futility. It was only having all disadvantages throughout, and people have suffered immensely, and more particularly the richer people, the topmost people have gained by holding money all these years in 2,000 rupees notes easily to accommodate the...
All right, Mr. Memon, thank you for that. I think there's a problem with his audio line as well. Let me also get in a word from Mr. Ajay Bagga, a market expert. Thank you very much for your patience, Mr. Bagga. So how do you expect the market to react to this on Monday morning? Also, do you see the banking system being flooded with people, queues outside ATMs, queues outside bank branches, like we saw when demonetization happened on the 8th of November 2016?
No, Zaka, at that time 85% of the currency was taken out in one shot. Now this is 10% of the currency under circulation. 3.6 lakh odd crores. And the reality is, Zakka, for the last 3 to 4 years, the banks were never giving you 2,000 rupee notes. So the informal instruction was whatever is deposited, go and deposit it in the RBI currency chest. Do not recirculate the 2,000 rupee note. That's why they have been able to cut down the peak 2,000 rupee notes in circulation from about 6.5 lakh crores to 3.7 lakh crores. So it's gone down by 50% already over the last 3 years. What is going to be a bit disorderly is this 20,000 limit. You could have said, let people deposit in their bank accounts up to, say, 2 lakhs, whatever was the last time we were allowed 2 lakh rupees, no questions asked. It would have just finished off. Now to deposit 3,60,000 crores at 20,000 a pop will take time, will be a burden for banks. Impact on the market, I don't think much of an impact, because this, what you asked earlier in the program, Zaka, is very much needed, this information. How much of that 3.6 lakh crores is sitting in RBI chest already? How much is with the bank in their currency chest? Banks run currency chests. When I was a branch manager, even 30 years back, I would hold 40 crores in my vault. And, so each branch of each bank would be holding a lot of these. And then how much is it with real people on a transactional basis? How much is hoarded as an unaccounted number? That unaccounted number will be washed into the system through mules, through carriers, 20,000 rupees at a time. That is the burden, that's the friction we have brought into the economy. Otherwise, I don't see this having much of an impact. We should not be too phased by it. Yes, 10% of currency ceases to be utilized very easily starting today. But, you have 90% of the currency and you have digital. I mean, you go down to a hawker today, anywhere around India, you're paying by your UPI.
Correct.
So it's not that things will stop. We are not in 2016, Jaka. We are much more enabled to manage this, but I'm just afraid of the burden on the banks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bagga, for joining us with your thoughts and perspectives. Saket Mishra is also joining us with his thoughts and perspective on this. Saket, let's leave the politics aside, because the Congress is calling this a second demonetization disaster and so on. Two things. One is there is genuine concern that right now, as of 31st March 2023, the last date that we have data for, there's about 3.6 lakh crores by value of 2,000 rupee notes that are out in circulation. One concern is that the amount that will come into the banking system may not be the entire 3.6 lakh crores, because the fear was, and I think the RBI governor himself has expressed this time and time again, that these high-value denominations are being used by people to hoard cash. So, how much do you think that differential would be? And the bigger that differential, the more the sort of handle, if you will, to the critics of demonetization, to opposition parties, to say that, look, this was always inherently a flawed exercise?
So, Zaka, I think we'll have to wait in terms of time for how much the differential is going to be. But fundamentally, I think it's a good step, because it's a process of reducing black money in the economy. And 2,000 rupee notes perhaps are the easiest way for people to hoard illicit wealth. It doesn't necessarily hurt the poor who really don't use 2,000 rupee notes. And so realistically, as part of that process, I think it's going to be beneficial to the country overall. And it clearly has an imprint of the Prime Minister's thinking on this issue.
Is that this 2,000 rupee note itself had a very short-lived life, less than 7 years since it got introduced in the first place after demonetization. Do you see this whole experiment as short-lived as it were, and there was a certain purpose to the introduction of the 2,000 rupee note? The RBI says that purpose has been served and therefore they're withdrawing it. But to the common man, this particular currency note symbolizes perhaps all that went wrong with demonetization.
Look, I think at the time of the original demonetization, the purpose of the note was actually to alleviate some of the trouble. because if I recall correctly, I think there were some issues in terms of how much currency could be printed, and this allowed some of that pressure to be taken off for printing of the smaller notes. And I genuinely don't think that 2,000 rupee notes are the notes of choice for the poor or the middle class in India to a large extent. So I don't see this as a flawed exercise. Yes, it was short-lived. It served its purpose at the time of original demonetization.
Okay. Just one final word quickly. One of the points that's been mentioned in the RBI circular is that you can only exchange or deposit up to 20,000 rupees at a time. Do you think that could again clog the banking system? And what's the rationale for that?
I reckon that the RBI would have taken both the average cash transactions on board and worked it on that basis, along with the fact that how much the regulations today allow in terms of deposits of cash without any negative fees, etc. I'm sure that the RBI will keep a watch on how much pressure is being put on the banking system and change it accordingly. But it is a 6-month, almost a 5-month process. So again, over 5 months, we should not see our banking system is fairly well placed to handle it.
All right. Saket, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. Saket Mishra, their economist, with his thoughts on the decision by the RBI to withdraw the 2,000 rupee note. If you have 2,000 rupee notes, you can deposit it in your bank, or you can go to your bank and exchange it for a lower denomination currency. You have time until the 30th of September 2023 to do that. Mr. T.S. Singh Dio, senior Congress leader from Chhattisgarh, is also now joining us. Mr. Dio, the government and the RBI are saying the 2,000 rupee note was introduced with a certain purpose and a certain rationale. That purpose has been outlived. So what's the point of keeping that currency in circulation?
The talk was about an attempt to curb corruption. Maybe that was the purpose touted at that point in time. But even then, it was a very hurried and fully unthought out process, where the old notes are withdrawn and new notes are not ready. So whatever the RBI has in mind or the government has in mind, it should not lead to harassment of the citizens. You have a particular note and tomorrow you demonetize them, or you have any process through which you introduce new notes. That I suppose is okay. But it should not lead, as it led last time, to considerable harassment.
All right. But the government is saying you have another, 5 months almost to be able to go and exchange these notes. So it's not like what we saw in 2016, where suddenly overnight 500 and 1,000 rupee notes were demonetized.
September is, I think, about 3 or 4 months' time. So that's okay. What they will be doing with this 2,000 rupee note, whether it will be withdrawn completely and a 1,000 rupee note introduced or something else done, there should be clarity on that. Rest, I suppose, it is an exercise which the government is thinking, or the RBI is thinking. Okay. Hopefully they've thought it out.
All right, Mr. Dio, thanks very much for joining us. If Gaurav is still there, one of the things, Gaurav, which could be a all right, we'll try and see if we can get to Gaurav in just 1 second. But one of the concerns is that common people from right now, you go to your Kirana shop or you go to any small trader, business establishment, they may stop accepting the 2,000 rupee note, even though it is still a legal tender till the 30th of September. So even if you have, let's say, one note in your home or one note in your wallet, and if you want to exchange this at any place other than a bank, then you might find it difficult because, people would tend to sort of not hold up or not exchange 2,000 rupee notes. The only place that could exchange this is a bank. Again, banks, one of the other potential concerns is the banks could be clogged because you are allowed to exchange or deposit only up to 20,000 rupees at one time. So which means if you have 2 lakh rupees of 2,000 rupee notes with you, you will have to go to the bank 10 times. And I think that again is a bit of a concern. Pallavi, one of the other things, and we haven't talked about, the political impact of what demonetization did. Now, the BJP has been consistently arguing that one large part of the economy which uses black money or used to use black money was political party funding. It had an impact in 2016 when they demonetized 500 and 1,000. Immediately after that, you had the UP elections, and even today, The opposition parties say that one of the reasons why the BJP won UP in 2017 was because of demonetization. Other opposition parties were starved of cash, therefore they couldn't fight the BJP. Do you expect that same political argument to be made now as well?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And it was a little awkward situation, I would say, as far as the opposition parties were concerned, because they would have made a hue and cry about it on the ground that it takes away their resources. Then it just endorses they had stocked up on black money. But you're right. I mean, I remember the demonetization decision had taken place just on the threshold of the Uttar Pradesh election. And many in the opposition party, particularly the SP, the Congress, the BSP, had made the point that, many of our supporters are petty traders. They give us donations in cash. And this is how it has hit us. We don't have the kind of money which the BJP has. The BJP's counter then and even now is the whole idea of electoral bonds which were introduced by the former and the late finance minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, was precisely this. Transparency in the donations being given to political parties. And this is something which is above board, and this is true not just for the opposition party but also for the BJP. So there's no need for any political party to be worried. And I think the Prime Minister himself has said it on multiple occasions that no political party should have been worried about the demonetization if all the transactions were above board.
All right, Pallavi Ghosh, we'll leave it at that. I want to thank all our reporters and editors and also experts who joined us to give their perspective on this decision. It's a big one. We'll be continuing coverage on this big story itself right on the other side when the right stand resumes with Anand Narasimhan. The 2,000 rupee note has been withdrawn. If you have 2,000 rupee notes in your homes or in your wallets, you can exchange it in your bank or deposit it in your bank till the 30th of September 2022, after which it will cease to exist as legal tender. On that note, quick break. We'll see you in a moment on the other side.
No, not many details are now available. I think there are more press releases. We are expecting one more. But the point that is being made by the finance ministry in its circulation is very clear. We do not think that there's too much of 2,000 rupee notes in circulation. It's not a kind of currency denomination which is used very extensively. So they think that it's not going to cause so much of damage. Now, if you just step back in 2018, when the demonetization had come into place, there was a sense of panic. And that is because it was 500 rupee notes. All of those were also being withdrawn. The government has, after its calculation, come to a conclusion. And this is something which we were getting inputs from the finance ministry over the last couple of months, Zaka, is that 2,000 rupee notes does not find much of resonance, not used very commonly, and also the fact is that it is not considered to be clean note to use the finance ministry parlance.
And just if you could track the journey of this 2,000 rupee note, like you said, it came into existence after demonetization in November of 2016. It's been a short-lived journey, but quite an eventful one.
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, interestingly, the finance ministry would actually extensively mention the journey of the 2,000 rupee note. Why was it introduced? It was introduced after a withdrawal of the 500 rupee notes and the 1,000, and therefore the 2,000 rupee notes were used. And the government has been calculating, and frankly speaking, this is something which the finance ministry has often been given us by way of inputs, that it doesn't find much of use in terms of circulation. People go in for smaller denomination. The 2,000 rupee denomination was something which has not been used extensively either by the businessmen or by the traders or even by the common man. And therefore, it doesn't perceive any kind of a panic reaction, doesn't perceive any kind of, a panic, so to say. But however, they've given us time till 30th of September, which is still a couple of months away. You can carry on your transactions. And of course, you have the option of going and depositing it into your account.
How is the opposition expected to react to this? The opposition, of course, have been very vocal critics of demonetization. The 2,000 rupee note, in a way, has come to symbolize demonetization.
Well, yes, absolutely. And I'm sure the opposition parties are going to once again accuse the government of not learning its lesson. And remember, till today, the demonetization, GST are often used by the opposition parties to make the point that this is something which was a panic and immediate reaction coming from the government. The government did not take cognizance of the small traders. People who have the small savings, for example, housewives collecting money and instead of saving it as a kind of pocket money or saving it because they want to save money. This is something which the opposition has always criticized the government on, of being balanced, insensitive. But if you look at the detailed note which has been put forward, the circular which has been put forward, it completely squashes all this. It's saying that a 2,000 rupee note will continue to be a legal note but it is not considered to be legal. It's not considered to be clean note. As a part of the clean note policy of the government, there are these periodic reviews, and they feel that 2,000 rupee note is actually not much used in transactions.
All right, a big decision taken by the RBI. PTI, the Press Trust of India, has now put this out that the RBI will now withdraw the 2,000 rupee note. Remember, this was introduced after demonetization in the year 2016. The RBI will now stop printing 2,000 rupee notes, but these notes will continue to be legal tender. If you want to exchange these notes, you can go to your bank branch and exchange this for other legal tender 500 rupee notes, etc. So the RBI has decided to stop further printing of 2,000 rupee notes. 2,000 rupee notes will be pulled out of circulation. Pallavi Ghosh has more details on this. Pallavi, what more information do you have?
So essentially what the Finance Ministry press release is pointing out, the reason why this note was first introduced was after the withdrawal of the 500 and 1,000 rupee notes, as we know about what's called the demonetization. But according to the Finance Ministry, the 2,000 rupee notes are actually not used very commonly and not too much in circulation, and therefore it's no longer, to use the word of the Finance Ministry, considered to be a clean note, and that's the reason it's now being withdrawn. No further printing of it. However, those who have 2,000 rupee notes can deposit it according to a KYC into their bank account. All this has to be done by 30th of September of this year, and also you can continue to use 2,000 rupees as a part of your transaction, but that will only be valid till the 30th of September.
So once again, if you have 2,000 rupee notes in your home or in your wallet, you can go to your bank and exchange it for other denominations?
Yes, that's what you can do. So what they are saying is that either you deposit the 2,000 rupee notes that you have with you into your bank according to a KYC, or you can exchange it in exchange of those 500 or 100 rupee notes. But it is only valid till 30th of September. The Finance Ministry, again to reiterate, and the point that they are making is it was introduced only after the withdrawal of the 500 and 1,000 rupee notes. It's no longer considered to be
Thought.
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. Ladies and gentlemen, has the government taken the right stand? Politics is already on it, on what is a 1 1/4 page note that's been issued by the RBI. This has been a talk for a while. They had stopped printing this note since 2018-2019. At that time, towards the end of 2018-2019, this is the 2,000 rupee note that now goes out of circulation. This is the note, ladies and gentlemen, that's been issued by the RBI. This is what it says. The Reserve Bank of India, Bharatiya Reserve Bank, dated the 19th of May 2023. And this is what it says. It says very clearly, and I'm going to read this out, that rupees 2,000 denomination banknotes withdrawal from circulation will continue as legal tender. Please note the headline. The headline is that it will continue as legal tender, but withdrawal of these notes. So this is what the RBI says, and what it says thereafter is that the objective of introducing rupees 2,000 banknotes was met once banknotes in other denominations became available in adequate quantities. Because 2,000 was brought in because 500 and the 1,000 rupee notes during Notebandi were withdrawn, or they ceased to be legal tender. Therefore, printing of 2,000 banknotes was stopped in 2018-2019. About 89% of the 2,000 denomination banknotes were issued prior to March 2017 and are at the end of their estimated lifespan of 4 to 5 years. This is what it says. The total value of these banknotes in circulation has declined from 6.73 lakh crore at its peak on March 31st, 2018, 37.3% of the notes in circulation, to 3.62 lakh crore, constituting only 10.8% of the notes in circulation as of March 31st, 2023. It has also been observed that this denomination is not commonly used for transactions. Further, the stock of banknotes in other denomination continues to be adequate to meet the currency requirement of the public. अब समझ में आया, लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, हाल फिलहाल एटीएम से पैसा निकालते हुए 2000 के नोट नहीं आ रहे. People are saying, "Arey, my bank does not, my ATM does not give only 500 rupees and 100 rupees are coming." Some of the banks would say, "Arey, yaar, mujhe mil gaya when you got." Did that happen to you? Because they slowly started withdrawing.